When you first look at this painting, you might think you're simply seeing two young sisters enjoying a peaceful moment in an elegant garden. Soft colors, beautiful dresses, flowers, and a gentle white dove. Everything appears calm, almost innocent. But if you stay with this painting for a few minutes, you'll discover that almost every detail has a purpose. This isn't simply a family portrait. It is a carefully designed political statement wrapped in beauty. And by the end of this video, you'll probably never look at children's portraits from the Baroque period in quite the same way again. Painted around 1685 by Dutch-born artist Willem Wissing, this double portrait depicts Lady Henrietta Hyde and her younger sister Mary Hyde. Although they were only children, they belonged to one of the most influential families in England. Their father, Lawrence Hyde, was one of the kingdom's most powerful politicians and a trusted advisor to the royal family. Their aunt had married James, Duke of York, who soon became King James II. That made Henrietta and Mary members of the king's closest family circle. In 17th century Europe, portraits like this were never created simply to preserve a likeness. They communicated status, power, wealth, and sometimes ambition. At first glance, the girls appear almost like princesses from a fairy tale. Yet their clothing immediately tells another story. Instead of wearing garments appropriate for children, they are dressed almost exactly like fashionable adult women of the period. To modernize, this may seem unusual, but in aristocratic society, appearance mattered more than childhood innocence. These dresses announced that these girls belonged to the highest level of society, and that one day they would make prestigious marriages capable of strengthening political alliances between powerful families. Even as children, their futures had already been carefully planned. Now look around them. The magnificent classical building in the background isn't meant to represent a real family home. It is an idealized palace. Artists frequently included imaginary architecture like this to suggest refinement, education, and noble heritage. Whether the family actually owned such a palace was almost irrelevant. The image itself created the impression of greatness. Then come the flowers, beautiful, but far from decorative. Notice the roses. For centuries, they have symbolized Venus, the Roman goddess of love and beauty. Near the lower part of the painting are striking red poppies. Besides adding dramatic color, poppies often carried associations with dreams, beauty, and the passing nature of life. These flowers appear repeatedly in Willem Wissing's portraits and were probably painted by his studio collaborator, Jan van der Vaart, who specialized in plants and decorative details. Every element contributes to a carefully orchestrated visual language. And then there's the white dove. It immediately catches the eye. Today we often associate doves with peace. In Baroque art, however, the symbol had additional meanings. It represented purity, innocence, and also linked the girls once again with Venus, reinforcing themes of beauty and future marriage. The message becomes surprisingly clear. This portrait wasn't simply celebrating two daughters. It was presenting them to society, almost like an elegant announcement introducing future brides from one of England's most influential families. The timing of the painting makes the story even more compelling. Around 1685, the Hyde family experienced both triumph and tragedy. Their father reached the height of his political career after James II became king. He received prestigious honors and became one of the most powerful men in the country. Yet during that same year, the sister's older sibling Anne died unexpectedly. With her passing, Henrietta and Mary suddenly became the family's primary hopes for future dynastic marriages. The portrait therefore takes on an entirely different meaning. Behind the graceful smiles lies the weight of family expectation. The artist himself deserves attention as well. Willem Wissing arrived in England from the Netherlands in the 1670s. He first worked alongside the famous court painter Sir Peter Lely before establishing his own successful studio. Within only a few years, Wissing became one of the favorite portrait painters of the Stuart court. His style combined the elegance of Dutch painting with the theatrical grandeur of the Baroque. Rich fabrics, radiant skin, dramatic landscapes, flowing curtains, Everything was carefully balanced to create portraits that looked both natural and magnificent. Sadly, his brilliant career lasted only a short time. He died suddenly in 1687 while still in his early 30s. Despite his brief life, his influence on British portrait painting was remarkable. The journey of this painting didn't end with the Hyde family. It eventually entered the royal collection and was displayed at Windsor Castle during the reign of Queen Anne. Generations later, it travelled to Hanover with a future king before remaining there for almost 2 centuries. Only in the 21st century did it return to Britain after being sold at auction, eventually becoming part of the Tate collection. Its survival allows us to see far more than 2 beautifully dressed children. We see politics, dynasty, artistic symbolism, and the ambitions of an entire family captured in a single image. Perhaps that's what makes great portraiture so fascinating. The longer we look, the less it becomes about faces, and the more it becomes about stories hidden beneath the surface.
Do you love art? Subscribe to the Living Canvas Museum today.